Did you know that the feeling of loneliness can be as detrimental to your physical health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day? This isn't just a poetic exaggeration, it's a stark reality confirmed by numerous scientific studies. We are living in what is arguably the most technologically connected era in human history. Our devices buzz with notifications, our social media feeds are endless streams of updates, and we can communicate with someone on the other side of the globe in an instant. Yet, despite this constant digital hum, a profound sense of isolation pervades our society. Millions of people, surrounded by crowds and digital friends, feel painfully, deeply alone. It's a paradox that defines our modern age. We have more ways to connect than ever before, but we have somehow forgotten what it means to truly belong. This pervasive loneliness is not merely a feeling of sadness or a fleeting mood. It is a chronic ache, a persistent void that affects our mental, emotional, and even our spiritual well-being. It's the quiet emptiness you feel in a room full of people, the sense that no one truly sees the real you behind the carefully constructed facade. We scroll through highlight reels of other people's lives, comparing our behind-the-scenes struggles to their public victories, which only deepens the chasm of our own isolation. The feeling intensifies, creating a feedback loop where the more disconnected we feel, the more we retreat into the shallow comfort of our screens, further distancing ourselves from the authentic human interaction our souls crave. We've traded deep, meaningful bonds for wide, superficial networks. The fundamental reason for this crisis of connection is that we seem to have lost the art of building and nurturing true community. We've forgotten the simple yet profound practices that weave individuals together into a resilient and supportive tapestry. We mistake online followers for friends and digital likes for genuine affection and acceptance. In our relentless pursuit of productivity and personal achievement, we have often relegated deep relationships to the bottom of our priority list. We tell ourselves we are too busy, too tired, or too complicated to invest the time and energy that real community requires. We have become experts at networking but novices at neighboring, skilled at broadcasting our lives but inept at sharing them with vulnerability and trust. This isn't a problem that can be solved with a new app or a better social media platform. The solution lies in a return to something far more ancient and essential: the practice of experiencing life together in a real and tangible way. It requires us to be present, to be honest, and to be willing to see and be seen beyond the polished profiles we present to the world. It's about rediscovering the power that is unleashed when people commit to walking alongside one another through the messy, beautiful, and unpredictable journey of life. The ache of loneliness is a signal, a call from deep within us, urging us to seek out the one thing that can truly heal it: an authentic, life-giving community. We have built a world that champions the illusion of connection over the substance of it. We collect friends on social media platforms like trophies, curating our lives to appear interesting, successful, and perpetually happy. Every shared photo, every status update is a carefully crafted piece of a larger performance. We present a version of ourselves that we believe will be most palatable, most impressive, and least likely to be rejected. In doing so, we create a digital avatar that is often a far cry from the complex, flawed, and beautiful human being that exists behind the screen. This constant performance is exhausting, and it creates an invisible barrier between us and the very people we long to connect with. We are interacting with masks, not with souls. The danger of this digital masquerade is that it fosters a culture of comparison and competition, rather than one of empathy and support. As we scroll through feeds filled with exotic vacations, career promotions, and picture-perfect families, it's easy to feel that our own lives are lacking. The curated perfection of others can make our own struggles feel like personal failings. We start to believe the lie that everyone else has it all figured out, and we are the only ones grappling with doubt, fear, or disappointment. This comparison trap only serves to isolate us further, making us less likely to share our own vulnerabilities for fear of being judged or seen as inadequate. We are connected by a web of wires and signals, but we remain profoundly disconnected in heart and spirit. This illusion extends beyond our online interactions and seeps into our real-world relationships. We attend social gatherings and engage in surface-level conversations, mastering the art of small talk while carefully avoiding any topic that might reveal our true feelings or struggles. We ask, "How are you?" as a polite greeting, not as a genuine invitation to share. We have become so accustomed to wearing our masks that we often forget how to take them off, even with those who are physically present with us. We fear that if people saw the real us, the messy, uncertain, and imperfect parts, they would turn away. So, we keep the mask on, perpetuating the cycle of loneliness and ensuring that our relationships remain shallow and unfulfilling. The result is a world where we can be surrounded by people yet feel completely unseen. We are in the same room, but we are not truly together. We are speaking, but we are not truly communicating. This is the great paradox of our time. We are hyper-connected yet deeply disconnected. We have mistaken visibility for vulnerability and online presence for genuine presence. Breaking free from this illusion requires a conscious and courageous choice. It requires us to challenge the notion that we must be perfect to be loved, and to embrace the radical idea that our imperfections are not barriers to connection, but gateways to it. True community begins where the performance ends. So I want to ask you a question, and I want you to be truly honest with yourself as you consider it. Don't just give a quick, reflexive answer. Take a moment, breathe, and really think about it. When was the last time you felt truly known? I don't mean known for your accomplishments, your job title, or the carefully curated image you project. I mean known for who you are at your core, with all your quirks, your fears, your dreams, and your scars. When was the last time you were in the presence of someone with whom you didn't have to pretend, where you could let your guard down completely and just be yourself without fear of judgment or rejection? Now let's go a little deeper with a second question. When was the last time you felt truly loved? Not for what you could do for someone, but simply for who you are. This is a love that isn't conditional on your performance or your ability to meet certain expectations. It is a love that sees your flaws and your failures and chooses to stay anyway. It is a love that celebrates your victories as if they were its own and sits with you in your sorrows without trying to fix you. It's the kind of love that says, "I see all of you, the good and the bad, and I am here for all of it." For many of us, experiencing this kind of unconditional love feels like a distant dream, something we read about in books or see in movies but rarely encounter in our own lives. And finally, consider this. When was the last time you felt truly accepted? Acceptance is the bedrock of authentic community. It's the feeling of safety that allows you to be vulnerable, to share your deepest insecurities, and to admit when you don't have it all together. It's the assurance that you belong, not because you have earned your place, but simply because you are you. In a world that so often feels like a competition, where we are constantly being measured and evaluated, the experience of true acceptance is like finding an oasis in a desert. It is the space where we can finally stop striving and start resting, where we can take off our armor and reveal the person underneath. If your answers to these questions leave you with a sense of longing or an ache in your heart, please know that you are not alone. That feeling is a universal human experience, a signal that we were created for something more than the superficial connections that so often define our modern lives. It is a call to move beyond the illusion and seek out the reality of authentic community. This journey is not always easy. It requires courage, vulnerability, and a willingness to risk being hurt. But the reward, the experience of being truly known, loved, and accepted, is the most profound and fulfilling gift we can ever receive. It is the very essence of a life lived together. From a spiritual perspective, community is not just a helpful accessory to our journey, it is an absolute necessity. We were not designed to navigate the complexities of faith, purpose, and existence in isolation. Think of our spiritual lives as a long and sometimes arduous pilgrimage. To attempt this journey alone is to make ourselves vulnerable to every doubt, every temptation, and every moment of despair that we encounter along the way. Without fellow travelers to offer encouragement, to help us up when we stumble, and to remind us of our destination when we lose sight of it, the path can become overwhelmingly difficult. True spiritual growth rarely happens in a vacuum. It blossoms in the fertile soil of shared experience, mutual support, and collective wisdom. The practice of experiencing life together is where our beliefs are tested, refined, and made real. It is easy to hold on to abstract ideals and noble principles when we are by ourselves. However, it is in the messy, beautiful, and often challenging context of community that these beliefs are put into practice. How do we love our neighbor? We learn by loving the actual imperfect people in our small group. How do we practice forgiveness? We learn by forgiving those who have wronged us, and by humbly seeking forgiveness when we have wronged them. Community becomes the living laboratory where our faith transitions from a set of intellectual concepts into a lived reality, shaping our character and transforming our hearts in ways that solitary contemplation never could. Furthermore, a spiritual community acts as a mirror, reflecting back to us both our strengths and our areas for growth. Left to our own devices, we can easily develop blind spots, becoming unaware of our own negative patterns or self-deceptions. A trusted community, grounded in love and honesty, can gently and compassionately help us see ourselves more clearly. They can challenge our assumptions, question our motives, and hold us accountable to the values we claim to profess. This process is not always comfortable, but it is essential for genuine transformation. It is through these honest interactions that we are polished and sharpened, becoming more aligned with our true purpose and our higher selves. Ultimately, coming together in a spiritual community connects us to something larger than ourselves. It reminds us that our individual stories are part of a much grander narrative. When we share our struggles and our triumphs, we discover common threads that weave us all together, realizing that our experiences are not unique but are part of the shared human condition. This collective identity provides a profound sense of belonging and purpose. It is in the gathering of souls, united by a common search for meaning and truth, that we find the strength, encouragement, and perspective needed to not just survive our spiritual journey, but to thrive in it. Emotionally, an authentic community serves as a vital anchor in the often turbulent seas of life. Our emotions are powerful forces. They can lift us to incredible heights of joy and plunge us into deep valleys of sorrow. Navigating this inner landscape alone can be a disorienting and exhausting experience. When we are isolated, a personal setback can feel like a catastrophic failure, and a period of sadness can morph into a suffocating sense of despair. A genuine community provides the emotional stability we need to weather these storms. It is a safe harbor where we can express our feelings without fear of dismissal or judgment, knowing that others are there to listen, to empathize, and to simply be present with us in our pain. This emotional support system is built on the simple yet profound act of sharing our lives. When we celebrate our joys with others, the happiness is not just shared, it is magnified. A personal victory becomes a collective celebration, amplifying the positive emotions and embedding the memory more deeply in our hearts. Conversely, when we share our sorrows, the burden is not just divided, it is lightened. The simple act of saying our pain out loud to a compassionate ear can rob it of its power. The empathy of a friend who sits with us in our grief, who validates our feelings, and who reminds us that we are not alone in our struggle, can be the lifeline that pulls us back to shore. Authentic community also provides a crucial reality check for our emotions. It's so easy to get lost in our own emotional narratives, allowing fear, anxiety, or anger to distort our perception of a situation. A loving community can offer a different perspective, helping us to see things more clearly and objectively. They can gently challenge our negative thought patterns and remind us of truths we may have forgotten in the heat of the moment. This is not about invalidating our feelings, but about providing the context and support needed to process them in a healthy way. This emotional balancing act is incredibly difficult to perform on our own. We need the perspective and wisdom of trusted others. Ultimately, the emotional security found in community fosters a deep sense of resilience. Knowing that you have a group of people who have your back, who will celebrate with you and grieve with you, gives you the courage to take risks, to face challenges, and to live more fully. This emotional safety net allows us to be more vulnerable, more open, and more authentic in all areas of our lives. It heals the wounds of past rejection and builds a foundation of trust that empowers us to navigate the emotional complexities of life, not with fear, but with confidence and hope, knowing we are securely anchored. Community sharpens our minds and strengthens our resolve. Alone, we're trapped in our own biases and blind spots. Together, we gain new perspectives and creative solutions. Sharing our struggles with others brings clarity and relieves mental pressure. Community combats loneliness, providing connection and purpose. When we declare our goals to others, we're held accountable and encouraged to grow. In short, community is the scaffolding that supports a resilient, thriving mind. Picture yourself alone on a windy night with a single match. Your light is fragile, easily snuffed out. Now imagine standing in a circle, each person holding a match. When you combine your flames, the fire grows stronger, brighter, and more resilient. The storm that would extinguish one flame only fuels the collective fire. This is authentic community, our strengths and vulnerabilities united, creating something enduring. Together, we become a beacon, offering warmth, light, and hope. You were never meant to stand alone in the dark. Life together is where we truly shine. Authentic community begins with honesty, not harshness, but courageous vulnerability. We're taught to wear masks, but these only isolate us. True connection happens when we lower our guard and share our real selves, flaws and all. Real friendship starts when we trust others with our weaknesses, not our strengths. One person's honesty invites others to be real, transforming surface talk into meaningful connection. We don't need to overshare, but we do need spaces where we can be genuine. Community starts the moment we drop the act. Humility is the next building block, accepting our imperfections and letting others see them. Pretending to be perfect keeps us distant. Admitting our struggles draws people closer. People relate more to our failures than our successes. Humility says, "You're not alone in your imperfection." It creates a safe space for others to be honest too. True strength is found in our shared vulnerability, not in self-sufficiency. In real community, we grow together through humble interdependence. Courtesy is the mortar that holds honesty and humility together. Real community means extending grace, patience, and respect, even when it's hard. We're all works in progress. Growth takes time. Courtesy means listening deeply, forgiving freely, and encouraging growth at each person's pace. It's the daily practice of kindness, patience, and forgiveness. When honesty and humility are wrapped in courtesy, people feel safe, valued, and free to grow. That's what makes a community a true safe harbor. If honesty, humility, and courtesy are the bricks and mortar of community, then confidentiality is the strong, protective roof that makes the entire structure a safe sanctuary. Without a firm commitment to confidentiality, no group can ever achieve true depth or intimacy. Vulnerability requires a profound sense of safety, and that safety is built upon a foundation of trust. People will only share their deepest struggles, their most painful secrets, and their most fragile hopes if they are absolutely certain that what they share will be held in the strictest confidence. The moment that trust is broken, the moment a private conversation becomes public gossip, the sanctuary is violated, and the safety is shattered, often irreparably. Gossip is the poison that silently kills community from within. It may feel harmless in the moment, a juicy story, a shared concern that is really just a thinly veiled judgment, but its effects are devastating. Gossip creates an atmosphere of fear and suspicion. It makes people second-guess what they share and with whom they share it. It forces them to put their masks back on and retreat behind their walls of self-protection. An authentic community must declare itself a no-gossip zone. This is not a suggestion. It is a non-negotiable rule. It means that what is shared in the group stays in the group. It means we commit to talking to people, not about them. If we have an issue with someone, we have the courage and courtesy to address it with them directly and privately. Building this circle of trust is an active, ongoing process. It is demonstrated not just by what we say, but by what we refuse to say. When someone tries to share a piece of gossip with us, we have the integrity to gently shut it down, saying something like, "That sounds like something I should hear from them directly," or, "I'm not comfortable talking about someone who isn't here to share their own perspective." These small acts of integrity build a reputation for trustworthiness. People begin to learn that you are a safe person, a vault where their stories will be honored and protected. As this culture of confidentiality permeates the group, the level of safety increases, which in turn encourages a deeper level of honesty and vulnerability from everyone. Confidentiality is the ultimate expression of respect in a community. It honors the courage it takes for someone to be vulnerable. It treats their personal story as a sacred trust, not as a piece of entertainment. When people know without a shadow of a doubt that their hearts are safe with you, they will be willing to share them. This is where the most profound healing and connection occur. It is within this protected circle of trust that we can finally lay down our heaviest burdens, speak our deepest fears, and know that we will be met not with judgment or exposure, but with love, grace, and unwavering support. A community without confidentiality is just a collection of acquaintances. A community with it becomes a family. The final building block is not a quality but an action, deliberate and consistent effort. Authentic community does not happen by accident. It is not something we can passively wait for or stumble into. It is something we must intentionally and actively build. In our fast-paced, convenience-oriented world, we often treat relationships like other consumer goods. If they don't provide instant gratification or become too difficult, we are tempted to discard them and look for something new. But deep, meaningful connections are not forged in an instant. They are cultivated over time through shared experiences, consistent presence, and a mutual commitment to investing in the relationship, even when it's not easy or convenient. This deliberate effort is the active ingredient that transforms a loose group of individuals into a resilient, life-giving community. This effort begins with the simple act of making time. In a world of overscheduled calendars and endless to-do lists, we must carve out protected, non-negotiable time for our community. This means showing up, not just when we feel like it, but consistently. It means putting our phones away and offering our undivided presence. It's in the regular, seemingly mundane moments, the weekly small group meeting, the monthly shared meal, the spontaneous coffee, that the foundation of trust and familiarity is laid. Consistency signals commitment. It tells the other members of the group, "You are a priority in my life. This matters to me." Without this regular investment of time and presence, relationships will remain on the surface, never developing the depth required for true authenticity. Beyond just showing up, deliberate effort involves being proactive in our care for one another. It means being the first to reach out, the first to ask a vulnerable question, the first to offer help. It's about paying attention to the people in our community, noticing when someone seems down and sending them an encouraging text, remembering a friend's important anniversary or a difficult milestone and checking in on them. It's about moving from a reactive to a proactive stance in our relationships. Instead of waiting for someone to cry for help, we create a culture where we are constantly looking for ways to support and uplift one another. This proactive care weaves a tight-knit safety net, ensuring that no one slips through the cracks. Ultimately, building an authentic community requires perseverance. There will be seasons of conflict, moments of disappointment, and periods where the group feels stale or disconnected. It is tempting in these moments to give up, but deliberate effort means choosing to press through the discomfort. It means having the hard conversations, practicing forgiveness, and recommitting to the shared values of the group. Like any worthwhile endeavor, building a strong community requires weathering storms together. It is this shared history, this journey through both the good times and the bad, that forges the most unbreakable bonds. Honesty, humility, courtesy, and confidentiality are the essential materials, but it is our deliberate, consistent effort that builds them into a home. If authentic community is so essential for our well-being, why do so many of us actively resist it? The primary and most powerful reason is a deep, primal fear of rejection. This fear is woven into the very fabric of our being. From an evolutionary standpoint, being accepted by the tribe meant survival, while being cast out meant certain death. That ancient wiring still runs deep within our modern minds, making social rejection feel like a genuine threat to our existence. The mere thought of opening ourselves up, of sharing our true thoughts and feelings, and then being met with disapproval or abandonment can be paralyzing. It is often this fear, more than any other single factor, that keeps us standing on the lonely sidelines, peering in at the community we crave but are too afraid to join. This fear causes us to engage in a constant subconscious risk assessment. Before we speak, we wonder, what will they think of me if I say this? Before we share a struggle, we hesitate, asking, will they see me as weak or incompetent? This internal calculus is exhausting, and it keeps our interactions safe, superficial, and ultimately unfulfilling. We choose the predictable pain of loneliness over the unpredictable and potentially devastating pain of rejection. We tell ourselves it's safer to not need anyone, to be a self-sufficient island, but this self-protection comes at a tremendous cost. By shielding ourselves from the possibility of being rejected, we simultaneously block ourselves from the possibility of being truly accepted and loved for who we are. The fear of rejection is a cunning liar. It whispers to us that our true self is somehow flawed, unlovable, or too much for others to handle. It convinces us that the masks we wear are not just helpful, but necessary for our social survival. We start to believe the lie that if people knew the real us, the us that is filled with doubts, insecurities, and messy contradictions, they would surely turn away. And so we hide. We present a curated, edited version of ourselves that we believe is more acceptable, more palatable. But every time we do this, we reinforce the fear's core message: the real you is not good enough. This cycle can only be broken by a courageous act of defiance. Overcoming this fear does not mean it will vanish completely. For most of us, it will always be a quiet hum in the background. Overcoming it means choosing to act in spite of the fear. It means taking a small, calculated risk. It means sharing one vulnerable thought with one person you sense might be safe. It's about testing the waters and discovering that the catastrophe you imagined does not occur. More often than not, you will be met with empathy, not judgment, with connection, not rejection. Each small act of courage builds our resilience, quiets the voice of fear, and proves that the reward of authentic connection is worth the risk of being known. Closely related to the fear of rejection is our deep-seated resistance to being vulnerable. We live in a culture that often equates vulnerability with weakness. We're taught to be strong, to be resilient, to suck it up and handle our problems on our own. We admire the stoic hero who faces adversity without flinching, and as a result, we learn to build these intricate suits of emotional armor around our hearts. This armor, well, it's designed to protect us from getting hurt, to deflect criticism, and to project an image of unshakable confidence and self-sufficiency. We believe this armor keeps us safe, but in reality, it simply keeps us isolated. It becomes a prison that locks others out and locks us in with our own loneliness. Vulnerability is the act of willingly taking off that armor in the presence of others. It's the conscious choice to expose our imperfections, our needs, and our soft spots. This feels incredibly counterintuitive and honestly dangerous. Why would we intentionally expose the very parts of ourselves that are most susceptible to being wounded? It feels like walking onto a battlefield without a shield. We resist it because it requires us to surrender control. When we're vulnerable, we're placing a piece of our well-being into the hands of another person, trusting that they'll handle it with care. This level of trust is terrifying for anyone, but especially for those who have learned that the only person you can truly rely on is yourself. This resistance to vulnerability is often what keeps our relationships stuck in the shallow end. We can spend years with friends, colleagues, or even family members, talking about sports, politics, work, and the weather, but never truly touching on the things that matter most in our hearts. We maintain a friendly but distant posture, never allowing anyone to get close enough to see the cracks in our armor. We might crave intimacy, but we fear the vulnerability that is its price of admission. We want the rewards of deep connection, the support, the love, the belonging, without being willing to take the necessary risk of being truly seen. We want the warmth of the fire without getting close enough to feel the heat. To overcome this resistance, we have to begin to reframe our understanding of vulnerability. It is not weakness, it is the birthplace of courage and connection. As Brené Brown famously taught us, vulnerability is our most accurate measure of courage. It's the raw, honest act of showing up and letting ourselves be seen when we have no control over the outcome. It's about understanding that the armor we wear to protect ourselves from pain also prevents us from experiencing true joy. The path to community requires us to slowly and intentionally unbuckle our armor piece by piece. It starts by sharing a small fear or a minor struggle and realizing that instead of being attacked, we are embraced. For many of us, the resistance to community isn't just a theoretical fear. It's a direct result of painful past experiences. Maybe you tried to be vulnerable once. You took a risk, opened up your heart, and shared a fragile piece of your story with someone you thought you could trust. But instead of being met with the care you expected, you were met with judgment, indifference, or even betrayal. Maybe your confidence was broken and your private struggle became public gossip. Or perhaps you leaned on a community for support during a difficult time, only to find that they were absent when you needed them most. These wounds are real, and they leave deep, lasting scars on our ability to trust. When our trust has been broken, our natural response is to build higher, thicker walls around our hearts. We make a vow, whether conscious or subconscious, to never let ourselves be that vulnerable again. The pain of that past betrayal becomes a constant cautionary tale that plays on a loop in our minds. Every new opportunity for connection is viewed through the lens of that old hurt. We become hyper-vigilant, scanning for any sign that history might repeat itself. We might tell ourselves people can't be trusted, or it's safer to be alone. These beliefs aren't born from cynicism, but from the very real and valid pain of past experiences. The echo of that old hurt makes the risk of new connection feel impossibly high. Healing from these past hurts is a slow and delicate process. It doesn't mean pretending the betrayal never happened or foolishly giving our trust to everyone we meet. It means acknowledging the pain and making a conscious decision to not let it define our future. It involves learning the crucial skill of discernment, the ability to differentiate between those who are worthy of our trust and those who are not. Healing means understanding that the actions of one person or one group do not represent the character of all people. It's the courageous choice to believe that trustworthy people and safe communities do exist, even if we haven't found them yet. Taking the first step toward community after being hurt requires immense courage. It often means starting small, maybe with just one person. It involves extending trust in small, incremental doses and seeing how it's handled. It's about giving someone a small piece of your story and waiting to see if they treat it with the honor it deserves. This isn't about being naive, it's about being hopeful. It's the brave act of saying, "My past pain will not have the final say over my future connection." Healing truly begins when we risk again, not by forgetting the pain, but by refusing to let it be the author of the rest of our story. One of the most beautiful and immediate rewards of experiencing life together is the profound multiplication of joy. When we're isolated, our moments of happiness can feel fleeting and honestly strangely incomplete. A personal achievement, a beautiful sunset, or a moment of sudden gratitude is wonderful, but there's a natural human instinct to want to turn to someone and say, "Did you see that? Can you believe this?" Sharing joy is what solidifies it, what makes it real and resonant in our souls. In an authentic community, you're surrounded by people who are genuinely invested in your happiness. Your victories aren't seen as a threat or a reason for comparison, they become their victories too. The celebration is amplified, echoing through the group and returning to you louder and more vibrant than it began. Imagine achieving a long sought-after goal. You get the promotion, you finish the marathon, you receive the good news you've been praying for. When you're alone, the celebration might last for a moment, a quiet internal smile. But when you share that news with your community, it ignites a chain reaction of excitement. Your phone buzzes with congratulatory messages. Your friends want to hear every detail, their faces beaming with pride for you. The collective energy lifts the entire experience to a new level. The joy is no longer just your own. It becomes a shared resource, a source of light and encouragement for everyone in the group. This shared happiness creates a powerful positive feedback loop, fostering an atmosphere of optimism and mutual support where everyone feels celebrated and valued. This multiplication of joy extends beyond major life events and into the small everyday moments. It's the shared laughter over a silly joke that leaves you all breathless. It's the collective sigh of contentment while watching a movie together. It's the quiet, shared appreciation of a simple meal. These are the threads that weave the fabric of a rich and joyful life. Community teaches us to notice and savor these small delights as they become opportunities for connection. The presence of others makes the ordinary extraordinary. A simple walk in the park becomes an adventure when shared with a friend who sees the world differently than you do. Life, in all its detail, becomes more colorful and more meaningful when viewed through the lens of togetherness. Ultimately, this shared joy builds a deep reservoir of positive memories that the community can draw upon during difficult times. When challenges arise, you can look back on those moments of collective celebration and be reminded of the strength and love that bind you together. You're reminded that life isn't just a series of struggles, but also a tapestry of shared delights. This is a profound gift. In a world that can often feel heavy and serious, an authentic community becomes an oasis of shared laughter, celebration, and light. It reminds us that joy was never meant to be a solo experience. It was designed to be multiplied by being shared. Just as community multiplies our joy, it performs an equally powerful opposite function with our pain. It divides our sorrow. To carry a heavy burden alone is one of the most crushing experiences of human existence. When we face grief, disappointment, or fear in isolation, the weight can feel unbearable, pressing down on us until we feel we might break. The darkness seems to close in, and our perspective narrows until all we can see is the pain in front of us. We feel utterly alone in our suffering. But when we allow a trusted community to step into that dark space with us, a miraculous emotional alchemy occurs. The burden once shared becomes significantly lighter, as if each person takes a piece of it onto their own shoulders. Think of a time you received difficult news. In that moment, the world may have felt like it was crumbling. The thought of telling someone, of putting that pain into words, might have felt daunting. But when you finally picked up the phone or sat down with a friend and shared your heart, what happened? The simple act of being heard, of having your pain witnessed and validated by someone who cares, can be incredibly healing. A compassionate friend who simply sits with you in your sorrow, who doesn't offer cheap platitudes or try to fix you, but just offers their presence, is a priceless gift. Their empathy creates a space where your grief is honored, making it feel less like a monstrous, isolating force and more like a manageable human experience. This division of sorrow is not just about emotional support. It often translates into practical help. When a family faces a crisis, a healthy community rallies. People bring meals, they help with childcare, they run errands, they offer a place to stay. They take on the practical tasks of life so that the person who is suffering has the space to grieve and to heal. This tangible expression of love is a powerful reminder that you are not alone. It counters the lie that loneliness whispers in our ear during hard times. The burden is literally and figuratively lightened. You are held by a net of care that allows you to fall apart a little, knowing you will be caught and supported until you can stand on your own again. The old proverb says, "Shared sorrow is halved." In reality, the effect is often even greater. Knowing you have a team of people walking with you through the valley gives you the strength and courage to keep moving forward. It provides hope when your own has run dry. The presence of your community becomes a light in the darkness, not necessarily taking the pain away completely, but illuminating the path through it. They remind you of your own resilience and of the love that surrounds you. This is one of the most sacred functions of life together. It doesn't eliminate the storms of life, but it ensures that you never have to face them alone. Beyond the immediate emotional benefits, authentic community serves as a powerful forge for personal transformation and growth. We are like raw iron ore, full of potential but also containing impurities and rough edges. Left to ourselves, we are likely to remain in that raw state. It is in the intense heat and intentional pressure of the communal forge that we are purified, strengthened, and shaped into something more beautiful and resilient. This process is not always comfortable. In fact, it can be quite challenging. But it is within the safe and loving context of community that we are challenged to become the best versions of ourselves, a process that is nearly impossible to undertake alone. This transformation happens, in part, through accountability. In a true community, people know you well enough to see your blind spots. They see the patterns of behavior that hold you back, the excuses you make, and the ways you fail to live up to your own values. A loving friend has the courage to hold up a mirror and say, "I've noticed you do this, and I care about you too much to not bring it to your attention." This is not done out of judgment, but out of a genuine desire to see you grow. This gentle but firm accountability helps us confront the parts of ourselves we would rather ignore, pushing us to be more honest, more disciplined, and more aligned with our stated purpose. Community is also a place where we are inspired to grow by the examples of others. When we see a friend handle a difficult situation with grace, practice forgiveness when they have been wronged, or pursue a passion with unwavering dedication, it expands our own sense of what is possible. Their courage gives us courage. Their compassion inspires us to be more compassionate. We learn and grow by observing and emulating the virtues we admire in those around us. This positive peer pressure is a powerful force for good, pulling the entire group upward. we begin to adopt healthier habits and mindsets, not just because we are told to, but because we are surrounded by living examples of their benefits. Ultimately, this transformative process helps us discover and live out our purpose more fully. In community, our unique gifts and strengths are recognized and affirmed by others, often before we can see them clearly in ourselves. A friend might say, "You are such a gifted listener," or "You have a real talent for encouraging people," helping us to identify the ways we are meant to contribute to the world. The community then provides a safe place to practice and develop these gifts. It is in the crucible of these trusted relationships, with all their support, challenge, and inspiration, that our character is refined and our true potential is unlocked. We emerge from the forge stronger, brighter, and more beautifully shaped. Finally, living life together gives us a profound sense of shared purpose and spiritual strength that we can never attain on our own. There is a powerful, almost mystical energy that is created when a group of people gathers with a common intention and a shared set of values. Paraphrasing a timeless spiritual truth, when two or three gather together in unity, something powerful happens. It's more than just fellowship. It's the creation of a spiritual current that strengthens everyone involved. Our individual faith, which might feel like a fragile whisper when we are alone, becomes a resonant chorus when joined with the voices of others. This collective spiritual energy provides a deep sense of belonging and reinforces the meaning in our lives. This shared purpose manifests in incredible stories of change and perseverance. Consider the story of a man who battled addiction for years, cycling through periods of sobriety and relapse, feeling hopeless and alone in his struggle. It was only when he joined a small group of men who refused to give up on him that his life began to change. They called him daily. They sat with him through his cravings. They celebrated every small victory. They offered grace, not judgment, when he stumbled. Their unwavering belief in his ability to heal eventually became his own. He overcame his addiction not through sheer willpower, but because he was carried by the collective strength and purpose of his community. His story became their story. Or think of the woman who, after years of battling depression, felt she had lost her sense of purpose. Life felt gray and meaningless. Through a community group, she was gently encouraged to use her organizational skills to help coordinate a local charity event. At first, she was hesitant, but the support of the group gave her the confidence to try. As she poured her energy into this shared goal, she discovered a renewed sense of meaning. Seeing the tangible impact of their collective effort reignited a spark within her. The community didn't just tell her she had value, they created an opportunity for her to experience her value in action, reminding her that her gifts were needed, and that she was part of something larger than her own pain. This is the ultimate reward of life together. We move from a self-focused existence to a shared mission. Our individual stories are woven into a larger, more meaningful narrative. We find the strength to overcome our greatest challenges and the courage to make a positive impact on the world around us. We realize that we were never meant to walk this path alone. Life together is God's design, a divine strategy for our healing, our growth, and our deepest, most lasting joy. It is where we find not only acceptance and support, but also the collective power to fulfill our shared purpose. The journey into authentic community begins with a single, crucial step: finding a group of people to share life with. This can feel like the most intimidating part of the process, especially if you feel isolated or aren't sure where to look. The key is to start small and be open-minded. You are not searching for a perfect, flawless community because one does not exist. You are simply looking for a starting point, a small gathering of people with whom you share some common ground. This could be a small group at a local church or spiritual center, which is often explicitly designed for this very purpose. These groups provide a structured environment where connection is the primary goal, making it an excellent place to begin your search for deeper relationships. If a faith-based group doesn't feel right for you, broaden your search to your passions and interests. Think about what you love to do. Is it hiking, reading, volunteering, or playing music? There are clubs, meetups, and organizations for nearly every hobby imaginable. Joining a group based on a shared activity provides a natural, low-pressure way to meet like-minded individuals. The activity itself becomes the initial point of connection, taking the pressure off of forced conversation. As you consistently show up and participate, you will begin to identify individuals with whom you feel a deeper resonance, a shared sense of humor, or a compatible worldview. These are the potential seeds of a more authentic community waiting to be watered. In our digital age, online communities can also be a valid starting point, but they should be approached with intention. Look for groups that prioritize genuine interaction over passive scrolling, such as a mastermind group for entrepreneurs, a support group for a specific life challenge, or a forum dedicated to deep philosophical discussion. While online connections can be powerful, the ultimate goal should be to move these relationships from the screen to real life whenever possible. A digital conversation can be a wonderful bridge, but it is no substitute for the embodied presence of sitting across from someone, sharing a coffee, and seeing the empathy in their eyes. Use the digital world as a tool to find your people, not as a replacement for tangible togetherness. Don't wait for the perfect group to fall into your lap. It won't. You must be proactive. Be brave enough to try a group out, even if you feel nervous. Give it a few tries before you decide if it's a good fit. Sometimes it takes a little while to warm up and for the initial awkwardness to fade. If one group doesn't work out, don't get discouraged. See it as a learning experience, not a rejection. The search itself is part of the journey. The simple, active pursuit of connection sends a powerful signal to yourself and to the universe that you are ready for more. Start small. Start where you are. Just start. Once you have found a potential group, the next practical step is perhaps the most courageous. You must be the first to be vulnerable. It is a common misconception that we should wait until we feel completely safe before we open up. In reality, safety is not a prerequisite for vulnerability, it is the result of it. A sense of trust and security within a group doesn't magically appear. It is built moment by individuals who are brave enough to take a small risk and share something real about themselves. When you are the first to lower your mask, you create a powerful invitation for others to do the same. Your courage gives them courage. Your honesty signals that this is a space where authenticity is welcome. This doesn't mean you should walk into a new group and unload your deepest traumas on the first day. That would be overwhelming for both you and the group. Vulnerability is a dance, not a detonation. Start with small, measured acts of openness. It could be as simple as admitting, "I've had a really stressful week at work," instead of the standard, "I'm fine." It could mean sharing a small fear or a minor struggle you are facing. Or perhaps you could share a story about a time you made a mistake and what you learned from it. These small revelations begin to crack the facade of perfection and create tiny openings for genuine connection to flow through. Being the first to open up changes the dynamic of the entire group. It shifts the conversation from superficial small talk to a more meaningful level. When you share something authentic, you grant others permission to be human. People are often silently waiting for someone else to go first, to break the unwritten rule of keeping things light and safe. When you do, you can almost feel a collective sigh of relief in the room. You are demonstrating that this is a group where people can be real, where they don't have to pretend to have it all together. This act of leadership, rooted in humility, is what begins to transform a collection of individuals into a potential community. Remember, the goal is connection, not performance. You are not sharing to impress people with how deep or self-aware you are. You are sharing to be known. Be honest about your feelings without being dramatic. Be open about your struggles without seeking pity. Simply present a small piece of your true self as an offering. more often than not, you will find that your vulnerability is not met with judgment, but with a surprising and heartwarming response, "Me too." And in that simple, beautiful phrase, the foundation of authentic community is laid. Be brave enough to be the one who starts. The final practical step is perhaps the least glamorous, but honestly the most essential. You must consistently invest your time and presence. Deep connections are not like instant noodles. They cannot be microwaved in 3 minutes. They are more like a garden that requires patient and persistent cultivation. In our culture of instant gratification, we often lack the patience for the slow, organic process of relationship building. But there are no shortcuts to intimacy. Authentic community is forged in the steady, regular investment of time. This means making your community a priority in your schedule, not an afterthought that gets whatever time is left over at the end of a busy week. Protect that time fiercely. This investment goes beyond simply marking a date on the calendar. It requires you to be fully present when you are together. In a world of constant digital distraction, offering someone your undivided attention is honestly one of the most radical and loving gifts you can give. When you are with your group, put your phone away. Turn it on silent and put it out of sight. Make eye contact. Listen not just to respond, but to understand. Ask follow-up questions that show you are engaged. This quality of presence communicates more than words ever could. It says, "You are important to me. This moment matters." This focused attention is the fertile soil in which the seeds of trust and connection grow. Consistency is the key that unlocks the door to depth. It's not the one-off, intense, heart-to-heart conversation that builds a strong community, but the cumulative effect of showing up for each other week after week, month after month. It's in the rhythm of regular meetings that you build a shared history. You witness each other's journeys, you celebrate the incremental victories, and you support each other through the recurring struggles. This consistent presence creates a sense of reliability and safety. People learn that they can count on you, and you learn that you can count on them. This slow, steady weaving of your lives together is what creates a resilient and unbreakable bond. Therefore, you must be willing to play the long game. Do not be discouraged if your group doesn't feel like a deep, intimate family after a few meetings. That's normal. Keep showing up, keep being present. Keep offering small pieces of your authentic self. Initiate get-togethers outside of the official meeting times. Suggest a shared meal, a walk in the park, or helping someone with a project. These in-between moments are often where the most meaningful connections are made. Deep relationships are not found, they are built. And they are built with the bricks of consistent time and the mortar of genuine presence. Invest generously and you will reap a reward beyond measure. We have journeyed through the paradox of our modern age, a world more connected by technology yet more plagued by loneliness than ever before. We have seen how we trade the substance of connection for its illusion, wearing masks that hide our true selves and block the love we desperately seek. We have explored the foundational building blocks, honesty, humility, courtesy, and confidentiality, that are essential for constructing a sanctuary of trust. We have faced the fears and past hurts that cause us to resist the very thing our souls crave. And we have celebrated the profound rewards that await us when we choose to experience life together, the multiplication of our joy, the division of our sorrow, and the forging of our character. Through it all, one simple, powerful truth echoes beneath every word. You were never meant to walk alone. This is not just a comforting sentiment, it is a fundamental aspect of the human design. We are intrinsically social creatures, wired for connection, belonging, and mutual support. To live in isolation is to live in opposition to our very nature. The ache of loneliness that so many of us feel is not a sign of personal failure or defect. It is a healthy, natural signal from our soul, like hunger or thirst, indicating that a vital need is not being met. It is a sacred homesickness for the tribe we have lost, a longing for the circle of faces where we can be fully known and fully loved. The journey of life, with all its breathtaking peaks and treacherous valleys, was always intended to be a shared expedition, not a solitary trek. God's design, woven into the fabric of creation, is for us to find healing, growth, and our deepest joy within the context of community. It is in the messy, beautiful, and often challenging interactions with others that we truly come alive. We see ourselves more clearly, we are challenged to grow beyond our limitations, and we discover strengths we never knew we possessed. It is where our faith moves from a private belief to a lived reality, and where our purpose is clarified and amplified. We were created to be mirrors for one another, reflecting back both the light of our potential and the grace needed for our imperfections. To deny ourselves community is to deny ourselves one of the primary means by which we are meant to heal and to thrive. So let this truth settle deep into your heart and mind. Let it be the compass that guides you forward. The path of isolation is a dead end. It promises safety but delivers only emptiness. The path of togetherness, while it requires courage and vulnerability, leads to the richness and meaning your spirit longs for. You were made for this. You were designed for life-giving relationships, for shared laughter, for supportive presence, and for a collective purpose. The most important journey you can take is the one that leads you out of the lonely wilderness of me and into the vibrant, life-filled ecosystem of we. You were never ever meant to walk this path alone. The decision to pursue authentic community is, at its heart, a courageous invitation to a fuller, more expansive life. It is a conscious choice to turn away from the shallow and the superficial, and to seek the deep and the real. It requires us to say no to the cultural script that tells us to be self-sufficient, to hide our weaknesses, and to prioritize individual achievement above all else. Instead, we say yes to interdependence. We say yes to vulnerability. We say yes to the beautiful, unpredictable mess of sharing our lives with other imperfect human beings. This is not the easy path, but it is the only path that leads to the kind of joy that satisfies the soul, and the kind of love that quiets our deepest fears. This invitation asks you to be brave. It asks you to risk being seen. It asks you to have the courage to take off the mask, even when your hands are trembling. It asks you to have the humility to share your failures, knowing they are bridges to connection, not barriers. It asks you to have the patience to extend grace to others, just as you hope to receive it yourself. It asks you to have the integrity to be a keeper of secrets and a builder of trust. This courage is not the absence of fear. It is feeling the fear of rejection and the echo of past hurts, and choosing to take a small step forward anyway. It is the quiet, powerful decision to believe that connection is worth the risk. Embracing this invitation will change everything. It will transform your understanding of strength, helping you see that true resilience is not found in standing alone, but in leaning on others and allowing them to lean on you. It will deepen your capacity for empathy as you learn to truly listen to and sit with the stories of others. It will expand your heart, filling it with shared joys and a profound sense of belonging. It will give your life a new layer of meaning as you discover that your story is interwoven with a much larger, more beautiful narrative. It is an invitation to stop just surviving and to start truly thriving, anchored in the love and support of a community that sees you, accepts you, and champions you. The world is full of people who are waiting for someone else to be brave, waiting for someone else to be real, waiting for someone to extend the invitation. Today, you can be that person. You can be the one who breaks the cycle of isolation in your own life and, in doing so, creates a space for others to find connection as well. This is your call to action. It is a call to move from passive longing to active pursuit. It is a call to choose the richness of a life lived together over the barren safety of a life lived alone. The invitation is open. All that is required is your courageous yes. The gap between the life of isolation you may be living and the life of authentic community you desire can feel like a vast, uncrossable chasm. But every great journey, including this one, begins with a single, manageable step. You do not need to have the entire path figured out. You do not need to build a perfect community overnight. You only need to take the first step. For you, what is that one step? Perhaps it is researching a local group that aligns with your interests or values. Maybe it is finally accepting that invitation from a coworker to get coffee. Or perhaps it is identifying one person already in your life with whom you can risk being just a little more honest this week. I want to challenge you right now, in this moment, to make a concrete commitment. Don't let the inspiration of these words fade into just another good idea. What is one tangible action you will take in the next 7 days to build a deeper community in your life? Will you call that old friend you've lost touch with? Will you show up to that book club you've been thinking about joining? Will you be the one to suggest a regular get-together with a few acquaintances you'd like to know better? Decide on your step, no matter how small it seems. Write it down, put it in your calendar, tell someone about it to hold yourself accountable. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with this single, intentional action. Please do not let the fear of imperfection stop you. Don't wait for the perfect group. Don't wait until you feel perfectly ready. Start small, start messy, start real. The community you are searching for is also searching for you. It is comprised of other imperfect people who are also longing for connection, just like you are. Your small act of courage could be the catalyst that brings you all together. The hope for a more connected, meaningful life is not a distant dream. It is a present possibility, waiting for you to claim it. The power to change your life is in your hands. It begins with one small choice, one brave step. You were made for connection. You were designed for belonging. Life together is not just a nice idea, it is your birthright. It is where you will find the healing, growth, and true joy that your heart has been searching for. So take that first step today. Begin the journey home to the community you were always meant to have. And as you walk this path, know that you are not just building a better life for yourself. You are bringing a little more light, a little more hope, and a little more love into a world that desperately needs it. The journey begins now. What is your first step?